and let me explain. First, Dave Glover of Volkswagen Westmoreland's Industrial Relations Department is serving as the cameraman, and I'm Chet Bond, Public Relations Manager. Now, why a special tape for Blaine? Because Blaine was the driving force behind the move to hold what we called a camera day here at Westmoreland, a day on which we would take down the sign saying no cameras allowed and give everyone who wanted to do it the chance to take whatever pictures they wanted in the course of a single workday, while still, of course, maintaining normal production inside the plant. Well, Camera Day was Friday, July 1. That's just 13 days before the plant shuts down. And Blaine was all set, outfitted with a video camera and some promised time during which he could go through the entire assembly process here at Westmoreland, making his own special tape. Fate intervened, however, and just as Blaine was about to start his video camera tour, he was stricken by a sudden illness and taken off to Westmoreland Hospital. Currently on sick leave, there's no way that Blaine can make the tape he wants so very much. And so Dave, Glover, and I are picking up the pieces. Blaine, we hope you find our effort worthwhile. Let's take a look at Volkswagen Westmoreland.
Point, we're just entering the west end of the body shop, and the area just ahead of us is where the Rabbit body show was created off to the left during the days of Rabbit production here from 1978 into 1984. Subsequently, when we converted the plant from Rabbit to Golf production, this area was cleared out, the area that we're driving through right now, and later on in 1987, we did set up a Jetta body shop here, and for a few months we did run Jetta production. That was discontinued, however, in March of 1988. So this area is currently empty. Ahead of us and off to the right are some sub-assembly welding areas where small pieces of sheet metal are welded up into larger sub-assemblies for use in the car body itself. As we move around the corner here, we should begin to see some sparks flying, for almost every day is a 4th of July fireworks celebration here at Westmoreland with a welding activity going on. Probably in the background you hear the industrial noise of an auto assembly plant, not unlike that in the Volkswagen factories all around the world. The area that we're approaching is a sub-assembly area where the rear floor section of the Volkswagen Golf is produced, with men and women feeding metal components into the assembly or into the long line of equipment, and then automatic welding taking place with automatic transfer of parts from one station to another. We're going to come up here alongside this system and make a left-hand turn in the body shop. And this, incidentally, Blaine, is where you used to drive a forklift truck, if I remember correctly, years before you began your work up in the paint department. Now we're going to make a left-hand turn and go off toward the main frame line. Incidentally, off to the right is a rail line, no cars on it today, but a rail line where sheet metal sub-assemblies or sheet metal components are brought in from the stamping plants. Down here we're going to make a left-hand turn and go up so we can follow the main frame line as the sheet metal components come down alongside it. And just to our left is the discharge end of the rear floor sub-assembly machinery. You can see one coming along right now off to our left. That'll be elevated before long and go up to be moved onto the main frame line. Off on our right now is the main frame line. We should begin seeing a front floor section move off to our left to go down onto the system right behind or right ahead of a rear floor section. Then those two sub-assemblies will begin moving backward down the main frame line, and some Volkswagen-made robots will begin welding those two halves of the floor together, making a rigid platform. Now, once again, we're moving down alongside the main frame line. This is again where the rear and front fore sections of the car are brought together and welded together by a couple of clamshell-like presses that physically wrap around the fore sections. And then the robots off to the left begin their welding. As we move farther along the main frame line in the body shop, the side panels are manually loaded onto the fore sections, and we see a Golf actually beginning to take shape and take form as an automobile. Right there are the side panels being brought up to the floor section. As we progress farther, you'll see ahead of us some robots sticking out from the left-hand side of the screen. There are 3 on this side of the framing line, there are 3 on the other side, and then 2 poking down from above to accomplish their welding assignments. I don't know how anyone can look at the robots in an auto assembly plant or any other industrial plant and not be awed by their performance. The weld spots, the spot welds that they apply to the sheet metal is always, I'm told, within 1/10 of 1 millimeter of being dead center, and that's pretty close figuring. There's always a bit of wonderment standing alongside the main frame line, wondering when it's going to start moving again. It may be down because parts aren't available at the forward end of it. There may be a mechanical malfunction someplace. And, one of the problems with bringing people into the plant is saying we're going to see the robots at work and then find out that they've taken a little time off. We're standing now at the rear end of the robots we just saw at work, waiting for the line to start moving once again. The robots on the mainframe line haven't started or haven't resumed their work yet. Now we're up on a deck overlooking the front floor section sub-assembly line at Volkswagen Westmoreland. And every time I stand up here, I'm reminded of the Pittsburgh Symphony, and I think that we should have Andre Previn in his cutaway white tie and so on, standing up here conducting the Volkswagen Symphony Orchestra. To see what I have in mind right now is the robots begin their work in unison. Each one doing its own assigned job to make sure that the weld spots are put in the right position. They almost look like praying mantises when they stop their work. Either that or a giant oversized dental drill. All told, we have about 75 robots in the plant. 71 of them are downstairs here in the body shop at VW Westmoreland. We use all of those, incidentally, are made by Volkswagen AG in Germany. We have 4 other robots that are up in the paint department and apply underbody sealant to the car bodies. They were made by an American firm. So, Mr. Conductor, let's play the music. Let's see those sparks fly. The right-hand side panel sub-assembly line here at VW Westmoreland. There are 10 robots hanging off the superstructure, doing their own thing, and behind them another 10 hanging off from the other side of the superstructure, working on the left-hand side panels of the car. And having said that, they're probably going to take a little bit of a rest right now. We'll hope they start up. I guess, Blaine, this is what you might call a still life here at Volkswagen Westmoreland. Dave, let's wander across to the far side and see if the other side of the line is working, if we can do that. Well, looks promising. Yeah, here we get some action. And the robots should begin coming to, there we go. Again, kind of a 4th of July fireworks display as the welding takes place down that line. That truly is a miracle of industrial planning and industrial engineering and making cars. which is what VW Westmoreland is all about. Incidentally, Blaine, you should have seen the car on display in the audit area this morning. It was a big 2.0. And you and I and Dave both, or all three of us, we know how great a car that is. So the body shell has been completed. That means the floor section, the side panels, the roof line. The car body comes into what we call the respot line for additional welding. Welding that could not be done by earlier robots in the system because they just can't work all that fast. And we want enough weld spots put in. So we're at the respot line. Now, incidentally, off to the left, I've never been able to find him, but some little fellow works in there someplace, and he tells all the robots ahead of the line that, hey, a two-door car is coming or a four-door car is coming, because that automatically changes the welding which is done by the robots. Pretty slick operation in here. And once again, plenty of sparks from the welding activity. Down ahead of the camera, past the final robots there, is a demonstration of truly modern technology where a series of laser cameras take a picture of each car as it comes along to make certain that the car bodies are wholly within specifications. A laser beam shoots down from a total of about 60 cameras and makes a total of about 140 pictures, which the technicians can then use to determine if there's any slippage from the specifications from a millimeter to millimeter from one point in the car to another. Actually, the cameras look pretty much like black shoeboxes suspended from chromium-plated rods, but they're firmly fixed in place. As the car body comes into the chamber, it rotates 90 degrees so that the cameras have a clear view of every part of the car. And the data recorded by the cameras is stored in a computer on the far side of the line and can be reclaimed at any time. If the engineers find that a weld spot is beginning to slip just a little tiny bit out of their perfect location, then they go back, track back to the robot that did that is beginning to slip out of adjustment and make proper correction on it. All part of the Volkswagen quality system. Line now, funny line here at VW Westmoreland, where a different type of welding is used, metal inert gas or MIG welding is used to make this car body very, very firm and strong. Up to this point, it's all been spot weld. In here, we not only have the MIG welders themselves, who are protected by special thick colored glasses and welding helmets, but also in here are inspectors who check each car body as it moves along to make certain that it's properly formed and the welds are in the proper spot on them. Over there waving to us from the side is a young man named Mike Ritz, who on the side runs a wedding service. I know you and Dave and I are long past the wedding stage, Blaine, but Mike's doing a fine job for a lot of his clients and enjoying life, and he's going to spend full time once the plant closes next Thursday, July 14. In here, the car bodies are on sort of a barbecue-like spit so that they can be rotated 90 degrees to right or left. That's designed to make it easier for the welders to work on instead of having to get down on their hands and knees or reach in terminally up overhead to get to the weld spot. The torch glow in here is pretty impressive too, but the light seems to be the light of a couple of suns mixed together. And on the work goes. We're making 400 cars a day on schedule. And by the time we wind up on Thursday, July 14, we will have produced 1,197,411 cars here at Volkswagen Westmoreland. Okay, we're in the metal finish portion of the body shop right now. The car body that just came down from the overhead conveyor is being set on its carrier, and we'll begin moving through the plant. There will be some additional spot welding in here, as well as some brazing down the rear quarter of the roof to the rear quarter panel of the car. Once that is completed, at the far end of the room, the conveyor carries the car around a corner where rough raw metal edges of the sheet metal openings in the car are ground off by high-speed grinders. Then as the car comes forward to the right of us on the conveyor system, the side doors are added. Once the doors are put in place, the car gets to the end of the line alongside us and makes another U-turn, at which point the front fenders are added to the car. Makes the turn and begins going back toward the rear of the plant, or the east end of the plant actually again. As it progresses along, the front hood and the rear hatch is added to the car. So by the time it comes up alongside us over on the left, the car body is complete at that point. Hood in place, hatch in place, doors in place, and it has by that time also gone through a truly metal finish line where any dimples or dings in the body shell are hammered out, ground down to give the paint department a very, very smooth surface to work on, and to give a car that all of us here at VW Westmoreland can be proud about. We're going to take a little bit of a swing through part of the body shop now to show the metal components which are stored here, stockpiled for the end of production. In this area we see fenders for the cars in the racks. They were made, stamped out for us down in Mexico and shipped up to us. And just ahead of us we see a whole bunch of doors being completed here on the in the body shop for addition to the cars later on. Now throughout the plant we have something like 6.5 or 7 miles of conveyor line. Many of those hundreds upon hundreds of feet of conveyor move components from one part of the plant along to another. But all told, by the time the car finishes its birth, actually, it will have traveled either in whole or in part some 6 or 7 miles throughout the facility. Now we're down along the another portion of the metal finish line. This is where inspectors look very, very closely at the car, make sure they catch any imperfections in the sheet metal work, so that by the time the car is completed, the customer receives an absolutely perfect vehicle. The second floor in the paint department now at VW Westmoreland, and just ahead of you see a car coming up on the conveyor from the body shop. Complete body shell now. Doors on, just as we saw downstairs, the metal finish line area. Rear hatch there, front hood there, and so on. The car is going to move around on the conveyor to a point where it is lowered to a carrier on which it will travel through most of the paint department. There you see the car swinging by overhead on the conveyor system. Now there's a little hold up while a car is elevated up with its platform beneath it. We'll go ahead a little bit farther and see the car being lowered into place on the platform. That'll be off to your right.
Oh.
Now there we begin to move. The car that's been placed on the platform already down a floor level is moving backward. Now we'll shortly enter the wash and phosphate system here at the plant to scrub it clean and give it its protective phosphate dressing. Once again, the car comes down just as the platform for it, or the skid for it, moves into position. Then the locator pins bring it down properly into place on a skid, and it's clamped on so that it can be moved throughout the paint department. Now we're going to stop filming here. We're up on the deck at the entry to the wash and scrub portion of the paint department. It's a 450-foot long chamber where each car body goes through. Any grease from the body shop, or oil from the body shop, or from the steel mill, or from out on the highway when the steel coils came to the Volkswagen organization, all of that dirt will be scrubbed off by detergents as the car goes through this enclosed man-made tunnel, making its way through 7 dip tanks, with detergents being constantly sprayed against the car body and then flushed off and sprayed with detergents again. Just before it exits the chamber down at the far end of this 450-foot long system, it is sprayed with a phosphate solution, which has a tendency to etch the sheet metal a little bit, leaving almost submicroscopic depressions in the sheet metal into which the paint can then grab as the car goes through the paint system. At the discharge end right now, the wash and phosphate system here at Westmoreland, the car is dripping wet as they come downstairs. And being dripping wet coming out of a nice fresh shower today is probably pretty good, because it is July 7, 1988 right now, and Pittsburgh is swept up in a tremendous heat wave. So is southwestern Pennsylvania. You're probably sitting someplace in air-conditioned comfort while Dave and I are making the rounds for you here. We hope you're enjoying it. From this point on, the car bodies, you probably notice, have changed color. Instead of being the bright, shiny sheet metal that we saw downstairs in the paint department with the light glistening off them, the car bodies have changed into kind of a dull gray. That's the result of the phosphate action on the sheet metal. It turns it that color. From here, the cars go on down to the west end of the plant in the paint department, and then are carried down into a bathtub of paint. A bathtub holding 55,000 gallons of paint. It's a water-based paint to give us what we call the primer sealer coat on the car. We'll take a ride down there and show you what happens at that point. The car that's moving past us has been through the primer sealer dip tank, and so it has its first coat of paint on. It's a dull, kind of a charcoal gray color. But coming along beside us over on the right-hand side is a car that has not been through the paint system yet. You can see once again the dull sheen of the car, the result of the phosphate acid on it. That car is going to go straight ahead down to the end of the platform and then dip down into the paint bathtub ahead of us. Again, it's a 55,000 gallon tank filled with a water-based primer sealer paint. And I remember seeing a film called Psycho, made by Otto Preminger, I guess it was, years and years ago. And there was a picture in it, or a scene in it, showing a car going down into quicksand. And every time I see the car body come along here and dip down in there, I'm reminded of that fabulous movie. Well, the nice part about this is, however, that at the far end of the tank, the car does come back up. The car in that feature film never did make its way back to the surface. Once it begins to enter the tank, it takes about 4 or 5 minutes to get through the tank. It's moving very slowly. The reason for the dipping is to make certain that paint gets way down deep inside all the body cavities. This is proved from time to time, probably on a weekly basis, by taking a completely painted car body with its finished paint on and then tearing it or cutting it open to expose it, and that way the quality control people find that the paint has really gotten down inside. By the time the car leaves the factory, it's been painted on the inside, down inside the body cavities. It's been phosphated down inside there, painted, and then before it leaves the plant, it is waxed down inside. So any moisture which would get into the body cavities and then condense inside there would have to get through the wax to attack the paint before it could get through the paint to attack the sheet metal. And that accounts for the long time warranty against perforation from rust and corrosion on Volkswagen vehicles. Now the car is beginning its descent down into that paint bathtub. Incidentally, at this point, the car is charged one way electrically, and the paint particles are charged another. This gives us the effect of magnetic attraction of paint particle to sheet metal. And that is one of the real secrets of getting paint down inside all the body cavities, and we know that the car is painted both inside and out. As the car body comes up out of the paint vat at the far end of this chamber that we're in, It is flushed off with clear water, recirculated clear water. Any excess paint rivulets are flushed off the car, but the precise amount of paint required to provide the proper thickness of the primer sealer remains on the car through the paint process employed here at VW Westmoreland. Now with the last few bubbles showing up there, the car is completely submerged. We're going to move on to another part of the paint department. Once the car body has been through the paint bathtub, picking up its primer sealer coat of paint, it moves on down into the underbody sealant portion of the car, or portion of the plant. At this point, these gentlemen are plugging holes so that sealant doesn't get up and clog them. Later on, those plugs will be removed for other purposes. And down ahead, the fellows with the white uniforms on, the white masks on, are putting underbody sealant in a portion of the wheel houses of the car to make certain that it's well sealed against the moisture from the road. Farther on inside the yellow booth down ahead, there are 4 robots which automatically apply the main portion of the PVC sealant on the bottom of the car. Let's take a walk down there and look in from the side window. Okay, we're looking inside the underbody sealant booth right now. Hopefully Dave isn't going to get splashed with any of the PVC material. The robots move around automatically under the cars to spray out the proper amount of PVC on them. As throughout most of the plant, there's a brief delay from time to time as the cars progress on their way to completion. Beginning to move through the underbody sealant booth, and before long we should see one of the robots begin to spray the PVC sealant on. It comes out as a pretty fine mist, working up probably in the wheelhouse there at the front end of the car. Yeah, now you can probably see the spray coming out, and it puts a very, very good coating on. A good number of pounds of sealant are applied here. The object is obviously to keep any road splash water from intruding into the passenger compartment or into the luggage compartment of the car. We're at the far end of the gelling oven now. The cars with their PVC sealant on, it's in the form of almost soft ice cream at this point. Not very cold, though, certainly on a day like today when the temperature's pushing up into the high 80s inside here. But the cars move through the gelling oven, and that firms up the PVC, making it kind of a semi-solid mass, which is going to stay in the car for years and years and years to come. Before going in, the fellow that you see working with a swab there is wiping off any overspray so it does not get baked onto the car body itself. We're aiming west in the paint department at the present time, going along the gelling oven for the PVC material. That's the red chamber off on the right. Very shortly we'll begin to see sanding activity, or should see sanding activity, on the deck alongside here, unless the people are on break. We may have struck here just at break time, as a matter of fact. I guess we have, because the line's not moving. But the object here is to use both wet and dry sanding to get any blemishes off the surface of the car, so that as the car moves into the prime paint booth, it has an absolutely smooth surface, and we don't compound any errors. Yeah, obviously we're at a break period here. That happens once in a while, Blaine. I'm sure that once in a while you take a break too. Not probably very frequently, but once in a while. Okay, the line just ahead of us with white colored cars on, or white at the moment, then a black one ahead of it, is the line coming down out of the prime paint spray booth. They've been through the curing oven there, and they're coming down the line for wet and dry sanding again to make sure there are no paint blemishes. Then the car off to the left a little bit is going into color booth 1, and color booth 2 is across the way. That's where the cars are given their final color coats of paint here at VW Westmoreland. I'm going to turn around. Up ahead of us, the cars on the floor are display vehicles, body shells that have been painted and ready for some other use, probably a sample, as a matter of fact. On the mezzanine level are the paint department offices. Off to the left, the paint department personnel locker rooms and shower rooms, a group for the ladies, one for the gentlemen who work up here. And then behind the locker and shower rooms, behind the office, a fairly large cafeteria for the personnel assigned to duty up here. Now we're going to go down and take a ride between the paint spray booths themselves, the color booths. Oh, here we see some of the people who work up here in the paint department. I'm sure you recognize them, Blaine. Yeah, it's Creel McDonald there, Rick Smalley, Bill Engel, representative of the UAW, another supervisor up here in the paint department. People that you've worked with for many, many years, Blaine, and we know you're going to miss them, and I'm sure they're going to miss you, too. Right, at the entry to Color Booth 1, some of your friends and colleagues, Blaine, standing there. Color Booth 1 is the booth that paints normal color on the cars. The one over to the left, color number 2, is the one that does metallic colors as well as normal color. Generally, we don't run a full 50% of metallic colored cars through the Westmoreland assembly plant. Now we're going to lurch up over the conveyor system here. You're going to see a little jigging as Dave tries to hold the camera steady. I guess we need a gyroscope there, Dave, to help you out. Now we're coming down between color 1 and color 2. The pipes that you see coming up from floor line are paint supply lines. They come up from the paint kitchen down below us on the ground floor of the plant. The lines are kept charged all the time. We paint normally up here in the paint department every Volkswagen color every single day. Cars going through in batches of 20, 30, or 40 of a single color. The reason for that is it takes about 9 seconds to change color here. And while that doesn't seem like very much, if we change color between every car, we would have a much longer time per car. At the present time, we're producing one car it's about 63.5 seconds. Add 9 seconds to that, it's 72.5 seconds, and that's out of the question. The paint color is changed simply by changing a nozzle and putting the new color through that nozzle. That has a tendency, obviously, to clear out the old paint and bring fresh paint on the inside. The blue booths we're approaching are called flash-off zones here at Westmoreland. There's no heat applied in there. It's just normal evaporation begins carrying the wet hydrocarbons up out of the paint through the ductwork overhead and into afterburners or incinerators located up above us. That's designed to ensure that we don't spill hydrocarbons out into the neighborhood. The red chambers here are the paint curing ovens. It takes about 35 minutes for a car to make its way through the system. By the time it comes out the other end, it's changed from a very, very wet paint surface to a perfectly cured, certainly perfectly cured to the touch surface, bright and shiny and all that. As you know, however, paint continues to cure for many days after it's dry to the touch. And the paint cure goes on out in the shipping yard and on the way to dealerships as well. And Blaine, I want to tell you, it's really warm up here. We hope you have a nice cold glass of iced tea in your hand as you're looking at this at home. Now, ahead of us are the inspection decks where inspectors take a very close look at the car to make certain that the paint is up to specifications on each car. If they find a problem with it, they have a certain time period. It's 90 minutes, actually. They can target the car to be taken off the assembly line, off the paint line that it's traveling on, diverted to the rear of the plant, sanded down in the imperfect portion of the car, reprimed, repainted, rebaked, and 90 minutes later to the moment, it slips back behind the car that it was following originally through the plant. It's a very significant part of the department. You know, all car companies pride themselves on paint, and certainly none more than Volkswagen. There's Henry Kemp on the platform with some of your other colleagues here, Blaine. Now we're going to lurch up over the conveyor system again in a minute, so let's turn the camera off and give it a break time up here in your office area right now. But here are some of your friends who are wishing you well and are saddened that you can't be here taking their picture instead of us on your behalf. But now I want you to see what it says up there. Well, even though you're not here today, Blaine, lots of people are thinking about you, and we're very happy for you that you have so many good friends here at Westmoreland. Okay, now we're going to try to catch a car coming along the deck. We're promised one will be along here very shortly. and we'll show you as it comes along. Here's another general scene up in the paint department, Blaine, that you know so well. The car's marshaled, ready to make their way along through your area of the plant. Some of the people getting ready to end their break period down below us. Now we know that this is an area that means a great deal to you, Blaine, just as the entire plant means a great deal to you. But we share the same feeling. We're going to miss the good friends we've made here at Westmoreland over the years. A fine group of people, as you well know. Now, just coming into view is a black car that's going to make its way up onto the inspection deck here. And you're going to see some of your colleagues go to work, begin doing what they do so well, and completing a car for a fortunate customer someplace here in the United States or up in Canada. This obviously is a GTI body shell that's coming toward us. One of the hot cars from Volkswagen.
Blaine, this is Bill Lasco. How about watching the area for a couple minutes? I got to run up the office. Call me if anything breaks down.
And isn't that a wonderful touch, Blaine? I can barely talk after hearing Bill make that request of you. Come on, get back to work there, friend. Right now, Dave's walking backward up here on the deck, and he's got about 12 feet to go before the ramp goes down behind him. We'll stop him in time so he doesn't take a, I don't know, what is it when you fall backward? It's not a header, it's a, what, a downer? At this point, has just finished getting a good working over by an inspector who's walking up here. He's going to turn the ticket in to your desk. I know it's not a fancy sign, Blaine, but it says a great deal about what the people think about you. And all of us wish you were here today instead of back home sipping that nice iced tea while you watch this thing. Boy, some guys got it all. You know, an awful lot of pairs of hands go into the production of an automobile here at Westmoreland. Downstairs, the trim and final assembly line alone, there's something like 550 different operations performed on the car to finish it. So that's 550 people working on the car. What a tremendous amount of teamwork that is. Now some sound deadeners were just added to the back panel to soak up some vibration. Gasket being put in on the leading edge of the front hood. And as GTI moves inexorably closer and closer to your workstation, Blaine. There's a tip of the hat from the boss for you, Blaine.
This is the spot where eagle-eyed Blaine Stanziana kept watch over the cars moving past him. Called ahead if there were any problem developing that he saw. To ensure long-term life for the Volkswagens made here at Westmoreland, each car goes through 2 wax booths. The one gentleman is just preening himself for the picture. The one just ahead of us that you're looking at right now is one of which they spray wax up into the body cavities from underneath the car. That's to ensure that, once again, there's no moisture that can condense and get into the sheet metal to damage the sheet metal. Off to our left is another booth, and that is the one in which the cars are worked on from the side by the waxers. They stick their probes, their nozzles, their hoses in through door openings and so on to get wax into the doors, into the hood, into the rear hatch. Again, the wax is deposited in an area where if moisture condenses, gravity would carry it downhill, and then the moisture would evaporate from those waxed areas. And more of the colleagues that you know so well. And now we're off. We're going to go downstairs following the car along the trim and final assembly line. And now, having come down from the paint department, up overhead on the conveyor, cars are moving down from the paint department. Here's another black GTI up there alongside us. There's some beige colored cars coming down. Once they get down to near floor level on the conveyor, they have about 1.5 miles to travel throughout the plant on that one conveyor system. It's in that area that those 550 different operations are performed on the car, build it up. When it comes downstairs, it has all the paint obviously on it and the side belt molding, but virtually everything else that is required to turn it into a real live automobile is added downstairs here on the ground floor. Wiring harness goes in, window winding mechanisms, door locks. And we'll take a look as we progress down the floor. Blaine, there's not going to be too much commentary as we move along here, but we will tell you highlights. You probably know them better than I because of your many walks through the plant as a tour guide. What we're trying to do is to show the highlights of how a car is trimmed out, made ready for the road. And as we said earlier on the tape, this trim and final assembly line stretches about 1.5 miles through the plant on 7 passes, kind of horseshoeing its way through the plant in a snake-like fashion. Down one aisle and up the next aisle and down the following aisle and up the 4th aisle and so on. All told, 7 passes through the plant. And we have some performers along the trim line too, dancing for us. They see the camera coming their way. The racks on this side of the aisle. Hi there. Hi everybody. A little exuberance. It's not even Friday yet. It's only Thursday. Generally we hear that on Friday afternoon as we get close to quitting time. But the supplies for the components for the cars are stored in racks along the aisle here. And as we get close to the last day of production at Westmoreland, the stockpiles obviously are getting smaller and smaller. We're working our way out of the inventory of parts that we have here in the plant. And sometime, someday in the future, Blaine, I hope you get in touch with Dave Glover, who's doing all the camera work on this, and tell him that he did a great job for you. And he is. He's very patient with us as we move up and down through the plant areas. I got to tell you a story about work along the assembly line. To the uninitiated, it looks as though it's very, very simple and very, very slow and very, very paced and all that. We did have a young lady reporter from one of the area newspapers come to us at one time and ask if she could spend the day working on the assembly line so she could do a story about VW Westmoreland and how it is to be an automaker. Well, we said fine, and the local union approved the idea, the plant manager approved the idea. We let her through the plant, showed her all around, and then separately I went off on a walk and I found what I thought would be the most simple job of all for her. It turned out to be the job of installing the battery cables or hooking up the battery cables. The young lady came to work at 6 o'clock one morning and went off, and she watched the procedure for 2 solid hours, not lifting a finger, but just watching to get the rhythm of car making. Then she went on break with the rest of the people, and after the break she came back and went to work. In about 10 minutes time she was so completely frazzled that we didn't know that she was going to make it through the day, because while these people who are skilled in car making make it look very simple, there are those among us who know that it's not a simple job that it appears to be at first glance. It takes a lot of coordination, a lot of dedication to detail. Yeah, a little bit more exuberance as we make our way through the plant. We're on the second pass of the trim line right now. And in this area, seat belts are being installed. The floor carpet is already in place. The instrument panel padding is up there on the sheet metal form. Now air conditioning unit ready to be installed. Sometimes I wonder about what happens when a camera appears and the gyrations that some people go through. It's kind of like watching a football game when they pan across the crowd and members of the crowd sense that they're on camera. They do all sorts of strange, wondrous things. And an auto assembly plant probably is not much different in that respect. Here comes one of the forklift trucks toward us. I've told people on tour that when they come, why, step aside, because they're bigger than the all of us. Certainly they're more powerful than all of us. Good friends here throughout the plant, Blaine, as you well know, people that we've worked together with for the last 10 years, some of them a little bit longer, and they're all fine people. Done a great job for Volkswagen. And they can leave the plant with their heads held very, very high, because they know that they have done a good job making cars here in the United States for Volkswagen. Ahead of us, the yellow wall that is up overhead is the main in-plant cafeteria with, I think it's about 450 or 500 seats in there. Now we're making another turn to follow the trim line. Along the way here is where the rear windows are added to the car. Right up here on the left is where the windshields are installed in the car. A bead of urethane is fed out onto the outer rim of the windshield, and then it's patted into place in the windshield opening. Then as the urethane cures, it seals the glass tighter and tighter against the sheet metal opening. Throughout the line, as you well know, Blaine, there are a great number of inspectors checking over. Here's one of them right now. His badge of office is that gleaming paper punch and a holster on his belt. They check and they check, and then they check again as the cars move past them. Funny thing, when the last lengthy union contract was written, it provided permission for plant employees to wear headset radios in the plant. And you probably are aware of this, that probably all the radio stores in the area sold out of those radios the day after the contract was signed. And they were used widely in the plant. Now, however, the novelty is worn off, and we don't see many radios here in the plant. Having said that, I kind of expect to run into an area where we'd see 30 or 40 people wearing headset radios at one time, but it didn't happen like that. Hi there, how's everything? Good. And he happened to have a headset radio on. Now we're going past one of the brake areas here. Gets pretty good play. As a reminder for the years ahead, remember we had 2 23-minute rest breaks during the workday, plus a half-hour lunch break. Now once again around the line to follow the cars as they make their way farther along the trim line. Okay, over on the left, we see a sub-assembly area where the instrument panels are produced or trimmed out. And if you see the welter of wires that goes into each one, it's kind of amazing that cars know what to do with them. And if someday when you step inside your car and get behind the driver's wheel, turn the ignition switch on, and nothing happens, well, you can figure, well, it's one of those wires in there someplace that didn't quite perform. We're told from time to time, Blaine, that this isn't camera day. Little do they know that the reason for this is that you weren't able to be here yourself on camera day, and so we're trying to make up for it. That hoot hoot sound you heard in the background is somebody calling for maintenance help, some problem someplace in the plant. Rear axle installation at this point. Heat shields being installed on the underbody of the car, protect them from the exhaust heat. Over on the left, the sub-assembly area where the gas tanks are outfitted with their senders, and they're checked. Each one is checked by pressurizing it with a few pounds of air pressure and then submerging it in a water bathtub. And a little water coming down from above us at this point, Blaine, as the tanks are moved overhead on a conveyor system. Still dripping water from the bathtub test. Now the car is really beginning to look like an automobile with its rear wheel hubs in place, exhaust system in, fuel tank in. Inspector over there on the right making certain that everything is running properly. Now one of the next steps in the process is the installation of the engine and transmission. We're going to stop the tape along about now and run over to the engine dress. And on tour of the plant are the members of the technical operating group. In the center there is your friend Don Viola. Way off to the left is Clark Kurth. A couple of the other officers of the corporation from up north. We're going to stop here for just a minute.
Blaine, sorry to hear about what occurred last Friday. Hope you're feeling better. Look forward to seeing you when you get back in the building.
Engine dress line of Volkswagen Westmoreland. The engines come to us in what is called a short block fashion with none of the external components on. Obviously, they're complete on the inside, the pistons, cylinders, valves, and so on already there. But on this line are added all of the external components, some of them from overseas, some of them from here in the United States. The line moves in our direction toward us at a slow, measured pace, an engine moving forward probably about every 60 seconds or so. That's why you don't see any movement yet. There we go. Now, as they move toward us with components being added time after time after time, they get down to the end of their completed engine, ready to be put on a test stand, and then they'll be plumbed up to the fuel line and actually run under their own power for about 20 minutes while they go around in an elongated oval to check performance of the engine. That's the engine. Walking toward us are Sorensen, who is the Vice President in charge of quality for Volkswagen of America. Closest to us, Norbert Kasink, who's head of quality assurance here at the plant. And we're also standing alongside the engine test system. Each engine, as we said before, as we talked to you along the engine dress line, each engine is put on one of the test stands here, plumbed up to the proper fuel line, whether gasoline or diesel, and then started up and runs for about 20 minutes as it makes the circuit around this system. The purpose is to make sure that we're installing only properly performing engines in the cars. If a problem is found with one of the engines, it's taken off the stand, replaced by an identical one which has already passed the test, and then the one requiring corrective action is taken into a repair bay, torn down and rebuilt, put back on test at the proper time, and goes off ultimately to meet its a proper car. The sound of the starters down here is the sound of an air starter. We used to use electric starters, but starting so many car engines per day was hard on those engines. We found that air starters perform much better, have a longer life. But they do make that whoo-whoo-whoo sound as they start up. Next step in the process is to mate the engine with a proper transmission. And that's done in an area over behind the camera right now, as a matter of fact. We're going to take a walk over there as soon as we see this engine in proper place and properly hooked up to the system. Now we're making a turn. We're going to go down past the area where the engine and transmission are mated properly together for installation in an automobile. Whether it's automatic transmission or manual, they're all added on the same line here. The same stands carry the engine and transmission assembly. Once completed, we have more exuberance in the background. Once completed here, the engine and transmission properly mated together, married if you will, the system of the power unit is carried overhead over the next aisle we're going to turn left onto, and brought down onto what is known as a tow conveyor. A tow conveyor is a floor conveyor system which accepts an engine package and comes around a curve and then brings the engine package in directly underneath the car into which it's going to be installed. Now here on the floor are the tow conveyors, and the cars are coming down from above after crossing the aisle. As we stand here, you see a four-man team works very, very precisely together with the help of a hydraulic piston to raise the engine package up into the engine compartment of the car. It's all done in about 40, 42, 43 seconds, according to my watch from time to time. Kind of a miracle of modern industry and teamwork. Any Volkswagen dealership, it takes probably upwards of an hour to reinstall an engine, but that's because it's a lot easier to make a car than to repair the car. You don't have things in the way. And obviously all the cars here are built in proper sequence with the parts designed to go in one after the other. And that's why we're able to move so quickly installing the engine and transmission package. Each one of these teams, there are two working one after the other. So each one of the teams installs on average 200 engine transmission packages a day. And are they expert? You bet they are. Now we're going to follow along the assembly line here, go down past the deck on which the brake lines are hooked up. The brake system is tested. It's a strange looking Volkswagen coming toward us right here. One thing about our assembly plant is that it's bright and light and clean and airy. Unlike so many American assembly plants where aisles are crowded close together and stockpiles of materials are crowding in upon them. I know I've been in a couple of assembly plants where the worker could maybe see 15 or 20 feet past his workstation in either direction. Here you have a long, long vista, really. Now the camera's been elevated thanks to Dave Glover. He's standing up as we roll along on the cart, making scenes or making pictures as we move along past the brake installation area. They're doing some other work on the engine up above us. Whoop. Gave the cart a little additional spurt there and almost unsteady Dave. The controls on this cart we're driving on, Blaine, aren't quite like a Volkswagen control. It's made by some American company here, and it's not a Chevrolet either. Now, if that doesn't have you doubling over with laughter, I don't know what will. Now we're approaching the east end of the assembly line. We're going to make a turn to the left and follow along the, I guess it's the 6th and 7th pass of the line as the car is completed. Hi there, fellas. Now we're into the area where storage batteries are loaded into the cars, radios are installed for those cars whose buyers have ordered them. A lot of power packed right here on the floor with all those storage batteries waiting to give life and breath to the cars that they're going to be installed in. Boy, these forklift trucks really are maneuverable in the plant. The cart that we're running on certainly isn't capable of making their tight turns. Going to miss this place very much, Blaine. It's been a good home for home away from home for us for 10, 12 years in my case. We're going to miss the opportunity to come out and chat with people like you, get phone calls from people like you, get comments from people like you. Plenty of background noise as we move along here. Hi there. That's a never-ending cleanup job here in the plant too, picking up cardboard waste and pallets and so on that have brought material in. Now we're getting to the point where it becomes really important. This is where the tires are added to the car. They're mounted on the rims over in the side room, a tire bay so-called. Come over on an overhead conveyor on either side of the car, are loaded on manually, and then the lug nuts are run up by automatic torque wrenches. That's one of the orange devices you see swaying on its holder up above us. Wheels come in different sizes, different styles, different sizes. Either light alloy wheels on the GTI or a pressed steel wheel. Hi there, everybody. Now one last turn of the line here, Blaine, and the car goes down the final run, goes through its final checkout, aims for the idle set, building, final adjustment of the engine, and then on out into the wonderful world of automobiles. Automobiles, how about that? Automobiles. That's what we're talking about. Now the car is almost set down on the floor to begin moving on the flatbed conveyor, no longer hanging from up above. And here's the point of touchdown. Just a couple of feet more on the conveyor and the car is going to be down on the floor. Released from its carrier. Off on the start of many, many thousands of miles. Some a lot faster than what we see here, though. Now it's time for the drip rail rain channel adjustment up on the car, installation of it, locking it in with studs. And not far to go now before the car is complete. That was the cover for the luggage hatch. Here's the gas pumps, fuel pumps. I used to tell people that they're the finest fuel pumps in the world. Never shows a penny charge for what's pumped out of there. Another inspector doing her duties. These overhead fixtures here are designed to exhaust the air from the cars with air conditioning systems so that there's room for the Freon to be installed later on. Freon is piped in through well, it's a Freon fill pipe as a matter, or a hose rather. At this point, the seats are added to the car. They've come in through the firewall on a conveyor that looks as though it belongs over at Kennywood Amusement Park. And I know that if I tried to take a seat out of a Volkswagen and install it, I have to get out the owner's manual and then study it, and finally I feel, well, now I know how to do it. These fellas whip a seat in or take a seat out in a matter of seconds. Here's where the car is put to its first test to find out whether it really starts and runs under its own power off the conveyor system. Right there, we're having a little bit of a slow. There we go. And the car moves forward to the pit where its front end alignment is set. Tow in and camber adjusted, and the car is ready for its first trip out in the real world on the roads of America. Also at the front end alignment area, the headlights are aimed. Young lady over there doing the headlight aim right now, using a device with bubble floats and cross lines. Now we're approaching what's called the ecosystem. That's the electrical checkout system, where every electrical component of the car is checked out using the plant computer and a hookup to it. The computer recognizes through its serial number the electrical components that were supposedly built into each car. Then as the operator rides through in the car with his little kind of electronic calculator, he follows the commands on the face of that device. By the time he completes the full sequence, all of the electrical componentry of the car has been checked. A ticket's printed out by a console farther along the line and tells if any circuit is open, if any circuit is not operating properly. And that way we're assured that in the reprocess area, the mechanics can make whatever corrections necessary so that when the car gets to the customer, it's in prime shape mechanically and electrically. Ahead of us is the roll test area. The car has just rolled into there. It's actually a transmission checkpoint. The car gets in, it backs up first, so the driver puts in the reverse on the steel rollers, and then he runs it up to about 60 miles an hour on the rollers to make sure the transmission is functioning properly. As the camera pans off to the right, you see a staging area, cars ready to go into the water test booths. You see the rainfall, in effect, falling inside the booth against the far wall of the plant. Car sits in there for about 5 minutes being drenched by a simulated rainfall to make sure that there's no leakage. The one that drove through was not targeted for the rain test. The ones over on the left are. It's a spot check covering a fairly small percentage of cars. And in years to come, we'll probably talk about the drought of 1988 here in southwestern Pennsylvania. Fortunately, the drought hasn't hit the rain test chambers for us yet. There's one more thing to look at here, and that's the area leading up to checkpoint 8. First, we'll go by the idle set areas where the quality buyers set the emission levels from the cars, lock them in, then the car goes through checkpoint 8 where it's given its final clearance by Volkswagen people. Possession of it is effectively taken by M&G convoy people who are then responsible for the car's transportation in safe condition, safe good condition, until it gets to the dealership which is going to sell it. Noisy in here because of the tremendous exhaust system to carry exhaust fumes out. The cars that are lined up here are ready to go into dynamometer booths where they will run until they get up to operating temperature. Then they'll come into one of these booths ahead of us where the engine idle set is accomplished. Then down along the line reading into checkpoint 8. I don't know whether we can skirt through there with this cart or whether we're going to be blocked by something. We'll take a look. Well, we can't get through with the cart plane, but we are going to go outside. We'll make a run around the near yard, lot 5, and then watch some cars, hope, coming out of checkpoint 8 exit. I guess we're not going to be able to get a clear view of them. We'll hold up here for just a moment and see whether we see some activity. I guess not. Instead of wasting time on the tape, let's do something that very, very few people have done outside the quality control group. Hopefully the cart's going to hold its charge. We're going to take a little run on the test track here at VW Westmoreland. We'll go bouncing along. This test track was installed back in 1984 as we prepared for production of the first 1985 Golfs. It was designed to shake out the cars and see what sort of squeaks and grunts and groans we could detect, so that they could be eliminated, because this test track simulates all sorts of road surfaces. I don't know that we can get driving over these saucers. We missed those, but here's kind of a Belgian paving block surface. Then ahead of us, a rumble strip. Optimum speed along here to accomplish what the test track is designed for is about 19 miles an hour. That is where you hear most of the squeaks and grunts and groans of an automobile. How you doing, Dave? All right?
Good.
Camera shaking a little bit?
A little bit.
A little bit. All right. If Dave doesn't wind up as a cameraman with one of the networks, why, I'll be surprised. And boy, Blaine, it is hot out here today. They said the temperature today is going to hit 100 degrees in Pittsburgh, and I think it's probably about that out here right now. We have a car coming on the test track in the opposite direction, it looks like. He doesn't know that this is a one-way track, obviously. Maybe he's going to tell us that we don't belong out here. Who can tell? Dave, if you pan off to the right, you can see the side of the factory, the big VW logo over there. Good show. Now we come to the pothole cover area, and we're going to get some jouncing around as we jump around on these things, I'm sure. Yep, here we go. Hey, some ride, huh? Well, that's enough of that. See if I can steer around him. I probably can't. No, the designer's outfoxed me. Let's see if we can get on these saucers. Where's the wheel? There, we're running along. It has more of an effect in an automobile moving along here at 19 miles an hour than our cart, which is traveling probably around 5 or 6 miles an hour. Those racks that we see way ahead of us are racks that brought sheet metal components up to us. Now they've reached the end of their service life with VW. Now we get on to sort of an undulating surface here with up and down and up and down. Normally, Blaine, I'll tell you, I do stop for stop signs, but we're not going to stop now. It's a little hot out here, so we're just going to go right on through. There's no traffic to speak of anyway. By the sound of the motor on this cart we're driving, I don't know whether we're going to make it all the way back in. I hope we do. I don't want to sit out here, Dave, and fry. Well, across the way you can see the M&G headquarters, their service garage, the ramp, or the area in which the rail cars are loaded with cars going out of here. They take 18 Volkswagens on a single rail car. And then off to the left farther, a Holloway truck is just about ready to pull off with its full load of cars on. Those trucks deliver cars to dealerships within a 300 or 400 mile distance of the plant, and then the rail cars take the cars to railheads farther distances away, from which they're moved by truck then to the dealers that ordered them. Now it's back inside of the coolness of the plant. Now coming in the east end of the plant as we did, we're following along past the paint reprocess area. Cars that have been damaged in process down here by people like me who might rub a belt buckle against them are repaired down here, corrected. But really, truthfully, Blaine, I've never scratched a car myself here at the plant. Wouldn't want you to think that at all. Undoubtedly, we have a high-powered managerial discussion going on here. But after all, it is break time. The line stopped. And Blaine, we want you to take a good look at this car. We don't know how it happened, but somehow a car got through without you working on it that has a 2.0 score. And boy, that speaks well for the car makers here at Westmoreland. A 2.0, that's a superior car in any company's terminology. And Blaine, as we said at the start of this meandering trip through Volkswagen Westmoreland, we hope you'll find our efforts worthwhile. Both Dave Glover and I know that you'd far rather make this tape yourself, and you'd rather be home with us at Westmoreland right now than at home in Pittsburgh. But look at it like this. No one else has a production team of Glover and Bond making a special tape for him. This one's truly for you, Blaine. And it's for you because you've been such a fine member of our organization. Whatever the world ahead holds for you and for your family, we hope it's nothing but the best. Take care of yourself. It's been great knowing and working with you over these last 10 years. So long, friend.